Hello again, welcome to another Isadora video tutorial. This is the last in this short series looking at camera tracking. So in the previous videos I've been breaking camera tracking down into sort of 5 stages. Number 1 is thinking about the input, where you're getting your video feed from. In this case it's the webcam. Number 2, the filter. How you treat that video feed to make it look a bit different and to highlight a particular kind of visual information. Number 3 is measurement. How do you then begin to quantify that data? How do you measure what's going on in your treated image and what do you produce with that? Number 4 then is calibration, making sure that your measurements are calibrated to get the most out of that data and then scaled to apply that to the output that you want to work with. Number 5 is of course the output, thinking carefully about, well, what is this interface that you're creating, what's the end result of this tracking action. So in previous sessions we've been working with this, where the filter, stage 2, is the difference actor, which is very good at highlighting movement, and then we can use that movement, we can analyze that movement, and with the eyes actor we can start to work out where that object is based on when it moves. So you can see when I move my hand, we can apply that data that's collected by the eyes actor to something as simple as the position of a shape. So this is a very simple system, but it's very powerful. The problem though with the difference actor is when you stop moving, it stops tracking essentially. So that's one thing I want to address. How do we keep on tracking something when it's not moving? The second issue is what happens when there's 2 objects. How do we know that my 2 hands are different objects? So you can see it starts to get a bit jittery. I can't use 2 hands as an interface in this case. So we're going to do something different just by swapping that filter out, and we're going to be using the Chroma key actor in order to track colour. So let's do that now. I'm going to unplug these, get rid of the difference actor, and let's put the Chroma key in. Let's just hook it up and see what it looks like. Let's see how it treats the image. And in fact I'm going to turn this one off. So yep, I'm looking a bit weird already. My lips have gone black. And so what the Chroma key actor does, if you've not seen the Chroma keying video, is it removes colour based on a key hue that you give it and a saturation value. So by default it's trying to remove this sort of 20% saturation of these red values. If I change this key hue here and scroll through, you can see, well, first of all we can see that graphical interface is changing colour as well, and that's an indication of the colour that it's trying to key out. So there's not many other colours in there apart from some skin tones when we get to a pale red. But what we're going to do is I'm going to try and key out this, well I've done it there, but you can hopefully see if I turn this off, I've got some bright red cards. So I'm going to be using these bright red coloured cards as a sort of tracking mechanism here, because these are very easy to try and locate that colour and to key it out. So let's try and spot this red. So again I'll turn this off. So we can see it's found the red by default very easily, and if I put the saturation up I should be able to get rid of some of that other stuff there. So we're keeping hold of the red, it's gone black there. So that's good in a sense that I've isolated the colour, but the problem is I've got rid of it. What we need to do is get rid of everything but the colour. So that's where we're going to use this inverse option here. So I'm going to turn that on. So now I've got this object. So look, the filter works by we're thinking of it as isolating a kind of visual information. Previously it's been movement, getting rid of everything that was still in order to highlight the things that were moving. Now we're working with Chroma, so we're able to highlight just one colour and get rid of everything else to a degree, although there's some ghostly lips there. I might just put the saturation up a bit. But broadly, I think if you're just able to glance at that, you'll go, okay, there's the red thing. I can see it. The red thing's in the top left-hand corner. That's a good indication. If you can see it and follow it, then hopefully the eyes actor can. So let's give that information to the eyes actor, and actually I'll leave that plugged in for now. Remember, that projector is not really for us. Well, it's not for the tracking, it's for us, so we can see what we're doing to begin with. Let's feed that in to the eyes actor, and we can see now in this monitor we've got this sort of light grey square highlighted, and the crosshair finding that really nicely. You'll notice I've got the threshold on 10. By default it's around 4. If I put this really low, then the bounding box seems to get a bit wiggly, but by putting the threshold up a bit, we're gonna filter out some false positives there. I've got the smoothing on 0.7 to just iron out that data a little bit. But this seems to be working pretty well. It's tracking it. So let's just work with what we already had last time. I've got this object data here. So object center horizontal, that's what this stands for. That's giving me the horizontal value, or the x-axis. Oh, it seems to disappear when I put it out there. There we go. So we can see while it's on the left, we've got very low values, so 1 and 2. When we go to the right, all the way to the other end, we're going to 98. And so 0 to 100, that's a useful value. Likewise, let's look at the vertical. If I put it to the top of the screen, we're in the low values, at the bottom in the high values. So this would be 0, 0 up here. This would be 100, 100. Let's turn this back on and see what's happening. So that seems to follow me really nicely. So it's only ever going to be as good as the actual your preparation of the image. So you can see I've got a nice light here. The card I've got is nice and bright and saturated. So the more you can control these elements, the better, and the more stable the tracking will be. But very simply, very crudely, you can achieve quite a lot. You don't have to overcomplicate it so much, but you do need to work a bit with calibration. Let's turn this red to match it actually. There we go. Follow me. And in fact, I could unplug this earlier projector, so there's no trace of me in the image other than the fact the text is following the card now. So this is a really powerful interface because, first of all, when I'm still, it's still tracking. Because we're not looking for movement, we're looking for colour. It still finds the colour, and we can see that in the eyes actor monitor there. The movement is really nice. It's not so jittery, I guess because it's not trying to track movement, so we're avoiding any kind of feedback. It's very hard to just move one part of your body as well. If I'm moving my hand, my head tends to wobble a bit. So I find this to be a very stable tracking method if you've got good lighting conditions. The other really fantastic advantage of this is we can start to build on it by adding additional trackers. So at the minute we've got a system that's looking for a red thing and then tracking it to then move this red thing. Just so you can see, I'm going to budge all this stuff up here. Let's move that projector, and I'm going to go horizontal in my patch to make a bit of room. And in fact, what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this whole lot here. So we've got a red patch and a second red patch, but we're going to make this patch a different color. Let's make it cyan. Let's go for a bit of an anaglyph look. And let's plug this in. Let's take another feed from the camera. So now the cyan and the red are both following this red card, which means they're overlaid and they're white. Obviously we don't want the cyan one to follow the red one, we want it to follow this blue one. So let's try and identify this blue colour. So you can see I plugged this back in, we can see a red thing there, but let's try and find a blue thing. I might turn the inverse back off now, and now let's see if I can key this blue thing out. You can see, again, you can see this little graphic changing colour, but really I should just look at the video. So once it's out on the video, that's all I need. Oop. It would help if I change the hue and not the saturation first. There we go, look at that. That's blacked out now. There we go, so we're looking around 50. Do I need to bring the saturation down a little bit? Let's just turn this on now. Okay. So it looks like the red thing is following my head as I get increasingly hot in here. But in theory, if I put a bigger red thing, it'll just follow the bigger red thing, which is this card. But look at that. I've got two colours tracking. One red, one blue. And they're independent, and I can play with them. And for me, this is a very, very intuitive interface. It's using my two hands, which, believe it or not, I can use two hands at the same time independently. This opens things up quite nicely. Obviously, you know, this is me changing two things together, but it could be two players, two users at the same time, or this could be two values. You can think of this a bit like a mixing deck. So this could be two movies. One could be the red movie that could be mixed in, one the blue. In fact, I think I'll probably do another video to look at that. But for now, I hope that is a nice simple introduction to colour tracking. I encourage you to go and look at the Chroma key video that I did previously to get a better grip on the Chroma key actor, and to check out the previous videos. I hope you've enjoyed the series. I'm sure I'll do a few more, and in fact, if you stick around, I might show you a few more Chroma key tricks. Follow me.